Welcome to this week's edition of Word of Wisdom. This week I'll be sharing a message from Proverbs chapter number 23, the verse 6 to 8. There's a narrative of the wise man, the counselor, and the great teacher, King Solomon. And this is what he has to say. Don't eat with people who are stingy. Don't desire their delicacy. They are always thinking about how much it costs. Eat and drink, they say, but they don't mean it. You will throw up what little you've eaten, and your compliments will be wasted. This is King Solomon throwing a word of caution and a warning to us to dissociate ourselves from a personality of stingy. Do you know of anyone who is stingy? Have you had a dealing with such a person before? It hurts. It's so hard. It puts strains on the relationship. So King Solomon, the wise man, warned us not to associate ourselves with a stingy person. Why? Because it is a social situation that needs to be avoided. The great philosopher laid out for us 3 verses which I've read that caution us of stingy people. He meant that they are selfish, greedy, and ravenous. So don't associate yourself with such people. The term used by the wise men to describe this type of personality in King James Version is evil eye. And the term evil eye in the Hebrew context or meaning refers to a person whose eye is set in a covetous way and very selfish when it comes to money and material gains. Even though King Solomon personified the narrative by using male gender, it is more of personality differences than gender. He used a scenario that if any person of such traits evidently makes a promise of a sumptuous meal for you, be very careful. Why? Because the end result is for their own self-interest, their own selfish gain, their own motive, and therefore you got to be very, very careful. From this very passage, the king made a submission that when a stingy person is putting a spread or delicacies before you, you should be very careful because he might be tricking you for what he might get from you. You see, in life, there are people who are unwilling to share their time, money, food, and even knowledge for the betterment of humanity. They are called stingy people. A stingy person may spend lots of money on themselves, but keep it away from everyone else. If a stingy person is eating and you happen to approach the person and he sees you first, what he will do is to hide the food. They always hide things. They always keep things away from you with the motive that you may ask them for something. A stingy person is selfish and lack consideration for others. Stinginess can be a personality disorder called obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Let me repeat it again. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And according to Science Direct, the compulsive, critical, controlling, self-righteous side of stingy personality often creates difficulties and confusions in relationships, whether being a work colleague or a co-worker or a friend or a family member or even a loved one. It does not matter. As long as they can keep it away from you, as long as they can benefit something, that is what matters to them. Stingy people are reluctant to share what they have. Even if they owe you money or owes you something, they are unwilling to pay it back. They will vehemently refuse to pay it back because they don't see anything right with the fact that something of them will go out to another person. Stinginess can relate to money. It can be related to emotions or love, time, ideas, clothing, and even food. So any of these or within this very fabric of life, they are not willing to relate to you or willing to give to you. Even being remorseful of their mistakes becomes hard for them. They will always love to take more than they will give out to somebody. There are reasons why the counselor, King Solomon, will warn us from such traits, because it will be very difficult for you to prosper around a stingy person. And some of you listening to my voice have experienced such traits from other people, and you know the only way you could break free was to walk away from them. There's a way to deal with them, and in a minute I'm gonna give you some strategies to deal with such people. Stinginess has nothing to do with a person's status in society. They could be politicians, scholars, directors, husbands, wives, pastors, prophets, or they could be even bishops or archbishops. It doesn't matter. It all has to do with them being stingy. And if they are stingy, they are stingy. Full stop. There is nothing you can do about it. But let me tell you the truth. If a man or a woman of God is stingy, they will always place a high demand on the members of their congregation without making any sacrifices for them. They will always be at the receiving end, and they don't give anything out. They will always be at the end of thank you, but nobody thanks them. This renders the members poor, but only the set man or the woman becomes rich. And this is why most of ministries are really going down the hill. Now, listen to this. If you date a man who is stingy, he will never spend any penny on you, but will rather want to spend on himself, and he will want you to spend on him. If you marry to a stingy woman, they can starve you to death and they don't care. They only care about themselves and not about you or anybody in the family. If you marry to a stingy person, you will struggle throughout the marriage, and it will never affect that very stingy person because they don't see your suffering. They are emotionally detached from your struggles. As a counselor, I have met stingy people who have starved their spouses for sex, for the simple reason that their partners are enjoying better than them. I have also met some stingy people who looks good all the time, but their spouses and family doesn't benefit anything at all or in any way from them. Listen to me. I have seen so many things in my counseling years, seeing people that their stingy partners have starved them of sex for a month, 2, 3, or even a year. It goes on as long as they don't see the benefit they will get rather than what you will get. They will not go in for it. And that is why social psychological study has proven that stingy people turn out that they have a high level of stress hormone called cortisol. Cortisol levels are now considered a biological maker of suicidal risk. That means a stingy person stands the risk of causing suicide than someone who is generous. Stinginess is a lose-lose situation. If you are a stingy person, you have a very weak soul. That means you can easily fall into depression. You can easily commit suicide. You can easily do some harm and damage to yourself. And that is why through this message, I want to charge you to loosen up and look at a broader picture of community benefit than self-centered mess. Being stingy with your money result in creating a poverty mentality that will translate into restricting wealth flowing into your life. So stingy people always find it difficult. Even as much as they try to hoard it, they lose it easily. When you are able to give freely without stressing about it, you are opening the gateway for it to come back to you again. What stingy people don't realize or don't know is that giving is linked to the release of oxytocin. Oxytocin is a hormone that is released during sexual intercourse, which induces feelings of warmth, intense excitement, and happiness. I mean, those who are married can attest to the fact that when you give money or a gift or anything precious to your wife or to your husband cheerfully out from your heart without holding it back, or you become nice by helping your spouse do some tasks, you realize that when you go to bed, the kind of sex you have is different from all kind of sex that you've had in the past. Why? Because during this very moment of releasing things out of your heart onto your spouse or onto somebody, you realize that there is a chemical reaction that goes on. And when this chemical reaction goes on and constantly repeats itself, it improves your well-being, life satisfaction, and it decreases depression in your life. And you bear with me that anytime as a married couple, if you do something good and you have sex, you realize that the next day your energy comes up, your joy comes up, you become very happy, you become very active, and everything goes smoothly just because you release something out of your heart to your partner. Generosity is the opposite of stinginess, and generosity naturally builds confidence and repels hatred. Generous people feels good about themselves for sharing what little they have. It brings social connectivity and promotes a sense of trust that strengthens your relationship with others. No wonder the good book Bible says that God loves a cheerful giver, and therefore God admonished that whatever we give out, we need to give out of our heart. Listen, we have so many people in churches, in different societies, who hoard things and they will never give out. They will see people starve, suffer to death, and they have everything pertaining to life to release it and get more. But in life, you realize that people who easily give always get it back. They get it and they get it more. Let me help us identify some signs of stinginess so that you will know how to either walk out from them or to deal with them. Because if you have not married yet and you're dating someone that is stingy, I will advise you not to go ahead with it. Put a hold on it, because in that very marriage or in that relationship, you are just going to endure pain and not enjoy happiness, peace, and joy in that very relationship. So it is very imperative for you to know these signs so that you walk away. But if you have married already and the person is stingy, there is a way to deal with it, which I'll give to you in a minute. Number one, they have a routine of hoarding things without giving out. They often lack the capacity of intimacy. Number three, they incline to be negative and lack a sense of exchange of mutual benefit. They don't understand the equation of mutual benefit. They are only one-sided people. Number four, they always have the feeling of jealousy, competitiveness, and envy takes over when something good happens to somebody around them. They hate it, they dislike it, they go into self-destruction because someone has what they don't have, or somebody has gotten something they would have loved for themselves. Number five, they don't share true emotional intimacy. Stingy people always detach their emotions from intimacy. So even if they have to do something with you, they don't share their emotions. They always detach it from intimacy. Number six, they think of their interest first before giving even little things out to somebody. Number seven, they always lack affection and warmth feeling for others. So if you be happy, they hate it. They always want you to be moody, sad, and nothing seems to be going on, and then they are rejoicing. That's where they get their joy. Number eight, they don't show gratitude until they've received appraisals. Stingy people always want you to celebrate them, adore them, admire them, give them accolade, let them feel good around you. That's how they always present themselves. The last one, number 9, apologizing when they are wrong is very hard for them to do. That is the last thing a stingy person will do, to apologize for what they've done wrong. And just as I've said, if you're already in relationship with someone that is stingy, there are 4 best ways to deal with these personality. Number 1, tell them to their face you are stingy. Tell them to their face you are always having a hard fist. Open it up, because relationship is mutual. You benefit from me and I benefit from you. Number 2, don't let them be comfortable around you. Every time, let them feel the heat. Let them feel discomfort. Let them feel what they're doing is wrong, and they will come to realization. Number 3, expect nothing good from them. So even if you invite them or they invite you to go out, expect them not to throw any penny on the table. If you go to a restaurant, don't expect them to pay the bill, or don't even expect them to slash it into 2, because they will not do. Don't raise your expectations when you are around them or with them. The last but not the least, number 4, let them seek counseling if they are willing. That means that if you've married them or you're into a deep relationship with them and you've done all these 3 and they still persist, then let them seek counseling. It will help them. God bless you. I believe this has been a blessing, and if it has, why don't you share with somebody, and your life will never be the same again. Until I come your way, this is Word of Wisdom from your humble servant, Bishop Melvin Langdon. God bless you. Bye for now.